Welcome back to the Dynamite Sports Podcast. This is Noah Vassallo here with my brother right below me on your screen, but he is next to me. This is Tyler Vassallo, RBLR correspondent. Today we are doing our mock draft 1.0. Tyler,
What's up?
what do you got to say about this mock draft?
Yeah. I mean, it seems like this is one of those years in the NFL where nobody really knows what's going to happen. And so, you kind of figured might as well take a stab at it. Even within the top three, I've seen so many different possibilities and spun out there. So I figured why not get it over with? And also,
Yeah. I think it's interesting how many variations I've seen of this draft this year. I also think that many of the prospects of a high tier this year. That being said, it's not a high tier out of these 2020s in mock drafts. Okay, we have two of the best prospects defensively that we're going to see, but offensively, quarterback-wise, I don't see the talent that we've been seeing the last couple of years quarterback-wise. We obviously had Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels last year.
Yeah, but you can't use that as the only measure. This is a really, really good defensive class.
Yes.
A lot of good defenders all across the draft board.
Of course.
And there's a ton of running backs.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
so many running backs. Honestly, I think that's why Ashton didn't win that ball. But, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. So we're going to get right into it today. The first pick goes to Tyler because that's how we're going to do it.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously, the general consensus is that Cam Ward will be the first overall pick for the Tennessee Titans. But I'm not completely sold. I'm not 100% certain that Cam Ward is worthy of the number one overall pick. I understand, quarterbacks in the draft are almost always going to go in the top five.
Yeah,
the best ones, obviously. And teams are obviously desperate for a quarterback, but it's not like Cam Ward is going to be super successful in Tennessee next season. Like, who's he going to be?
Well,
who's he going to be throwing the ball to? Who's going to run the ball? Who's going to block? That offense is
Exactly.
going to be terrible no matter who the quarterback is next season. So, my thinking is that Tennessee might just go with Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter here, and let them ball out on the defensive side of the ball. Let Travis Hunter get, a gazillion targets in his first season the way Malik Neighbors did. And then you go after a better quarterback in the draft next year because you're probably going to be picking in the top three again next season.
Yeah, exactly.
That being said, I still think the pick is going to be Cam Ward. But there's definitely a universe where Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter are the first overall pick here.
Mm-hmm. So we're taking Cam Ward here.
Yes.
All right. So I got the second pick on my clock. Cleveland. I've seen a lot of people mock to Cleveland. Abdul Carter is very, very highly drafted for Cleveland. But a guy that I see there, he's been quoted at this point saying, I won't play for you unless I'm playing both sides of the ball. And I think Cleveland will take that chance and put him playing wide receiver and corner. You can obviously see it up on your screen. Their needs have quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tackle, and corner. So I personally am going to take Travis Hunter right here for the Cleveland Browns.
I don't hate it.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I think that makes the most Abdul Carter being put next to being put across from Myles Garrett would obviously be a fun combination. But I think Travis Hunter is probably the best player on the board here. Cleveland's got so many needs. Mm-hmm. You could justify taking Mason Graham here potentially. You could make a case for Ashton Genty. You could make a case for even Will Graham, is that his name?
Will Campbell.
Will Campbell,
yeah.
the offensive tackle, because that offensive line was not nearly as good last year as they have been. Mm-hmm. I think with the third pick, it is most likely going to be Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
with him hosting a private workout with the Giants this past week, I think that it's pretty obvious. I think the Giants are kind of tilting their hand there.
Yeah. And
So,
it's going to
yeah.
be interesting to see them with 4 quarterbacks.
Yeah,
But
it's definitely weird, but
I don't see them picking anybody else because they're so high on Shadur so far.
Exactly.
So there's nobody else that I can see them picking right now.
Right.
I wish that they would go out and pick Abdul Carter or something, but it's going to be Shadur.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I've got the New England Patriots up, and the New England Patriots fans have a lot of guys that they've had in mind for this draft. But the guy that I've seen ESPN talking about, I've seen Good Morning Football talking about, that they're almost exactly going to be picking is Will Campbell at tackle. Will Campbell has gone and took his private workout with them. He's done all of the stuff with them. It's interesting because their needs are running back, wide receiver, and O-line. So I'm surprised McMillan isn't up there for them. But I do see Will Campbell being taken at pick 4.
Not Abdul Carter. Think he slides even further.
I do, and that's crazy to say. Because in my opinion, I've stated it already. Abdul Carter's the best player in this draft. I think he falls to pick 5.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Well, I guess there you have it. Will Campbell, Patriot, apparently. I'm wondering if some of those mocks that you were looking at are factoring in potentially Abdul Carter not falling there.
Yeah.
I think that if Abdul Carter does fall there, he's the pick.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that Jacksonville is going to. I don't think Jacksonville is going to be looking at Abdul Carter as a possibility here. And I don't know if he's the best fit, but he's the best player left. And this team is definitely going to be disappointing again next year. I'm just looking at the defense. Yeah, Eric Armstead and Miles Cole and Josh Hines Allen and Trayvon Walker.
Trayvon Walker, who was the first pick a couple years ago.
Yeah, I don't think an edge rusher is going to help out on that defense either. I don't even know if an interior lineman is going to help out too much. Actually, yeah, that would probably make more sense. It's either Mason Graham or Tet McMillan for me here. We haven't really seen Trevor Lawrence play with a true number 1 wide receiver. Not really.
Yeah.
Brian Thomas Jr. is going to dominate a lot of the touches.
Yeah.
And
And now that
I don't
Christian Kirk is gone, even though he was hurt for last season, that takes off some of the...
Right, and I think that they have bigger needs. I think Mason Graham, in this scenario, would be the pick at number 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So are you taking him over Abdul Carter and he
Yes.
falls to 6?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I don't see a reason why I wouldn't pick him right here.
Yeah.
Abdul Carter goes 6 at this point.
The Raiders just have so many holes.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what you pick here either.
And
that defense was bad.
Pete Carroll was quoted talking about picking Ashton Genty.
Yeah.
But Abdul Carter, he's so good. Yeah, Jets on the clock now.
Jets on the clock. What do the Jets have going for them?
Their
Doesn't seem like a
needs are
lot.
currently, according to
According to PFF,
it's
quarterback.
quarterback, wide
well, they don't
receiver.
have a quarterback right now.
Yeah. So
They still have Garrett Wilson, and they still have Brees Hall.
Brees Hall, yeah.
And the defense ended up being pretty mediocre last year. It would have been great if they hadn't fired their head coach. They got a defensive-minded head coach. I could absolutely see this being Tet McMillan, pair him next to Garrett Wilson. That could be interesting. Don't see Ashton Genty here at all. Jahdae Barron?
Yeah, the
Maybe.
problem here, they're not going to go and reach on, I'll go and look at PFFs. Jalen Milroe's there next, but I've seen Jackson Dart a lot getting mocked
Yeah.
way higher than he's supposed to be.
I don't see another.
Average draft position at 37.1.
I don't see another
Crazy.
quarterback worth taking in this round at
Yeah.
all.
So Tet McMillan makes sense there. Put him next to Garrett Wilson, who's been a top receiver for the last couple of years. It makes sense.
I mean, but thinking about what they have needs for, Armand Membu from Mizzou could go here.
Yeah.
You could be talking about Kenneth Grant from Michigan. So they might have to reach. I think this is probably one of the teams that might trade back,
Yeah.
just because their needs don't really fit this draft. But we're not really working with trades.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna go with McMillan here.
Yeah.
I think that would be an interesting wide receiver duo to watch with, I don't know, Justin Fields. Is that their quarterback right now?
Yeah, it's Justin Fields right now,
Oh,
yes.
man, that's fun.
And obviously, Ted McMillan with an 89, you can see it on your screen right now, 89.1 PFF grade versus man coverage. So put him across from Garrett Wilson, he'll look real good. Now we get to the Panthers. The Panthers are an interesting beast because they started off the season really bad, which earned them this pick.
And Bryce Young ended up looking
And
pretty
Bryce
good
Young
at the end of
ended the
year.
season pretty well.
Yeah.
And props go out to Andy Dalton for building that up and saving his career.
Right, Andy Dalton for sure.
I'm just kidding. And it sucks for Saints fans because Saints fans are like, I want Ashton Genty. But, man, I think this could be Ashton Genty right here. And that's not who I'm going to pick. But this is a potential for a Genty pick right here. Who I'm going to go ahead and pick is the corner, Jahad Barron. From Jahdae Barron, who had a fantastic season with Texas. He obviously went out there. He's a great coverage grade. Not the man coverage guy, but you put him in zone coverage and he'll cook a defense. I mean, even against Clemson last year, he played well.
I've got him as my second best corner this season. He's very versatile. I could see him absolutely switching to safety. Mm-hmm. He could play anywhere on the field for a defense. I am curious if this pick is potentially Tyler Warren.
Yes, that's the
other
spot.
chip to fall here on offense.
Mm-hmm.
Where do Tyler Warren and Ashton Genty fit? Because they're not terribly valuable positions,
but they're two very, very good.
Yes, they're perhaps some of the best we've seen in the last couple of years. So yeah, you have Jahdae Barron here for the Panthers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did.
All right. Well, then this is absolutely going to be Ashton Genty. Yeah. Without a doubt to me. Walter Nolan is an interesting name here, but I think he falls like way further than this.
Yeah.
PFF has him as the 8th best player in the class. That is a little outlandish to me.
And his average draft position is 19.9.
Right.
So.
Right. And yeah, based on what this offense needs, I mean, frankly, they need a quarterback.
Yeah, they do.
They are serving up free wins to the NFC South with Derek Carr, especially if he's going to miss part of this season, which is what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
But, Ashton Genty and Alvin Kamara is a fun duo. I think this season's kind of doomed from the start for them.
Yeah.
I could see Tyler Warren here as well, but I don't think so.
And it'll be
Seems
interesting
unlikely to
if
me.
you remember in the first couple of years of Kamara's career, it started with Mark Ingram still as the lead back.
This is true.
So this will be their repeat. If I'm talking about the Green Bay Packers formula, this is going to become the New Orleans Saints formula, is what we're saying.
Right. So what are you thinking for the Bears?
For the Bears, at first I'm thinking Genty because that's who I keep seeing for them. I know obviously they need that running back. And Walter Nolan's very good. But you know what I haven't seen enough for them? I haven't seen Mike Green going enough for them.
As an edge rusher?
Yeah, as an edge rusher. I wouldn't say it's a full need, but they love talent on defense right now. And the offensive mind that they just got from the Lions. And he just built his tackles.
Ben Johnson.
So, yeah, Ben Johnson. They're not going to need the Missouri tackle.
Yeah, they're not going to be drafting an offensive lineman in the first round, which I would have absolutely thought going into the offseason. But,
So I would be taking Mike Green if Walter Nolan wasn't still on this board. So Walter Nolan to the Chicago Bears. Next up on the clock is the 49ers.
Yeah, this is probably going to be Membu or Mike Green. Mm-hmm. The 49ers are hemorrhaging superstars right now.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to afford to pay anyone for a little while. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go with Membu here.
Okay.
Just because, offensive tackle is probably one of the most valuable positions on the entire field. So.
And when they got Williams, it changed their game. So, yeah, it makes sense to get Membu right here. Another guy who I see Genty going to, the Cowboys. I don't know why Genty has been mocked to everybody, but he has.
Well, everybody wants him, and they need a running back.
Yeah, and everybody's praying for Genty. This is where I actually do see Mike Green going.
Yeah, that makes no sense to me. Across
Obviously,
from Parsons?
put him across from Parsons, and that's a great duo right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It seems like a pretty easy one. And then you get to the Dolphins. They're kind of in a weird spot.
Yeah.
Jalen Ramsey is on the trade block. Tyreek Hill maybe on the trade block. After you extended both of them,
Yeah, exactly. Like,
not a great situation to be in. Your quarterback is going to play maybe 8 games a season for the rest of his career. And the offensive line was actually a little bit better last year.
yeah, it was.
Still not great.
It's not great, but
Still not great.
It was an offensive line.
So this one's probably going to be Will Johnson. Kenneth Grant would still be a reach here to me.
So my question is Luther Burden.
He fits the profile of what they like in their wide receivers over there with Mike McDaniel.
Yeah.
But like, you still have Jalen Waddle.
You still have Waddle, yeah.
Are you going to spend the 13th overall pick on a wide receiver 3 for this season?
And I don't think that they will.
Yeah, no, this is going to be Will Johnson for sure.
Okay. Taking corner Will Johnson from Michigan. Next on the board is the Colts, another interesting beast to handle. And their need is tight end. That's their top need according to PFF. So the first thing that I would think is Tyler Warren right off the bat. Second best available on the board. But talk over in Indianapolis has been Malachi Starks. There's been some stuff that's been kicked up about him.
Absolutely the best safety in this class.
And
it's a deep safety class too.
Yes.
There's a lot of stars here.
So he's the pick right here, I think. I would love to give them Tyler Warren and give them another tight end to put in that system. But you gotta take Starks here.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And now we're at the Falcons. I think the funniest option here is Tyler Warren. That would be hilarious. That would be absolutely hilarious. Luther Burden immediately jumps out to me. I don't think they're going to draft a defensive player. They finally figured out how to play defense in the second half of that season.
And their secondary is very good.
Their secondary is pretty good, but the front seven is lacking.
On paper, the secondary should be very good. But yeah, that front seven.
Yeah, this is kind of just going to be a toss-up between your favorite out of Burden and Egbuka. Give your young quarterback another weapon that's not Tyler Warren here, because God knows they don't need a second tight end. Kyle Pitts is disappointing enough by himself. Luther Burden is a speed threat. I think of Egbuka more as a possession receiver.
Yeah.
Which is what they kind of already have with Drake London. So I think Burden would be a nice contrast to pair with him.
Yeah. I will say those receivers for them were performing very well against the Tampa secondary. It would be a very bad situation if they get Luther Burden and add him into that system from a Tampa's perspective. So we get to Arizona. This is a team where I'm thinking, where are they going to need? And their needs are guard, defensive line, and corner. So Kenneth Grant, the other Michigan defensive interior lineman or whatever, that's an interesting thought. And I do think they might take him. But looking down this draft class, there's not another corner for a minute here.
You're looking at like Trey Amos.
Yeah, Trey Amos at 30 is the next corner in this draft class.
According to them.
According to
Benjamin
PFF.
Morrison was very good, but he's had a couple injuries recently. Hairston is a speed demon. Ravel will probably fall to the second round due to his injuries as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
true.
It's an interesting thought about that. So this is a desert, if you might say, of no corners here, or not even a defensive back for a minute. So they're going to take Kenneth Grant here. That's my prediction here.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
All right. Bengals on the clock. Almost the exact same needs.
Yeah, a similar situation, except I would argue that defense is so desperate for them.
Yes.
I think it's probably going to be a toss-up between your favorite out of Campbell, Izaraku, Pierce, and Walker. The two edge rushers and the two linebackers.
Yeah.
Campbell is probably the best linebacker in this class. He's got a little bit of an injury history as well. I think he's probably the pick here.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see him fall to the Bucks, but it just I don't
It's
think
not
it's
going
gonna
to work
work
out, I
out.
don't
Yeah.
think. Yeah. With that being said, we are a pick away from the Bucks, and this is the Seahawks. Seahawks, you see, they're you see, huh? Their edge rusher that need. I don't think they're gonna take Izaraku right here. And I also don't think they're gonna take an offensive lineman. I see Tyler Warren sitting right here, and I think that the Seahawks will be taking Tyler Warren here.
Who's gonna throw the ball to him?
I, you know what? Seahawks have fun with finding that out.
Yeah, the tank for Tyler Warren was an interesting strategy this season for the Seahawks. I think you could have justified taking an offensive lineman here with Josh Simmons or Kelvin
Yeah,
Banks.
Josh Simmons and Kelvin Banks are two great offensive linemen.
Norman Lott's just a little bit further down, but they were probably looking for an edge rusher here.
Mm-hmm.
And that leaves Donovan Izaraku for the Bucks. I've seen this name brought up a lot by other people in the space in Tampa Bay. He seems to be the favorite name right now for the Bucks. He was just on a top 30 visit. I would have actually probably rather they address inside linebacker. But,
Yeah.
you know, it's edge rusher is one of those positions the Bucks have spent so many picks on recently, especially at the top of the draft. And now you are looking at you gotta help me out.
If we're looking at linebackers,
Edge rushers.
oh, edge rushers. Well, their edge rush room right now is Diaby at potentially the number one.
Right.
And then you've got, you just brought him in from the Jets, Hassan Reddick.
And then behind that,
Anthony Nelson probably third.
and
Braswell probably
Braswell.
fourth. And then you've got the other guy.
So the question is, where does bringing in a first round edge rusher fit in? Because Braswell was a little disappointing, but we know that Anthony Nelson is good enough to rotate in as an edge rusher. Hassan Reddick is going to be an every down guy. Yaya Diaby is probably going to be an every down guy. And so the question is, do you reach on the best defensive back available? Do you take Jalen Walker? Jalen Walker is another guy who played a lot of inside linebacker, but could potentially flip as an outside linebacker.
Yeah. Something that I think the reason that we're not seeing linebacker a lot addressed in this first round is because Schlesinger and Demetrius Knight and even Chris Paul Jr. are potential second round or even third.
Well, yeah, an inside
picks.
linebacker is one of those positions where it's kind of a year to year thing.
And what was interesting about last year with Peyton Wilson Jr. is he was mocked a lot in the first round. He ended up going in the third round. So
Right. But we also know that the Bucks' three biggest needs are edge rusher, linebacker, defensive back.
yeah,
But Todd Bowles has also said potentially by bringing an offensive star, they're not going to need an offensive lineman, so you can wash those out. But they did bring Matthew Golden on a top 30 visit, and yet I still think Jalen Walker is going to be the name there.
so are you taking Jalen Walker here?
I think drafting a Georgia defender is always a safe bet.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's always a safe bet.
That was so loud. I
a
wasn't
jump
expecting
scare.
it. Yeah, it was.
Actually, kind of hurt.
There's Jalen Walker at 19 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. My pick right here is the Broncos. Broncos have an interesting wide receiver room to think about on paper. Cortland Sutton's still there, leading that room, and I think that's hilarious.
Didn't even know he was still in the league.
And Marvin Mims shows up a lot when you think about that. He shows up in the big situations. But that being said, I think Emek Ibuka, it makes so much sense right here. Because if those are your two star receivers, those aren't star receivers. And if you put Emek Ibuka next to, I said it wrong.
Emeka Egbuka.
Thank you, Tyler. If you put him next to Bo Nix, it's going to look a lot better than Cortland Sutton as your number one wide receiver. Potentially Matthew Golden here. And even I've seen Amarion Hampton go here and duo him up with Javonte Williams. But we'll take...
I don't even think that's a duo. I don't think Javonte Williams is that good at all. So you're saying...
Egbuka. Yep.
Well, here are the Steelers. just a trash fire of a team. Apparently, they're going to be selling off picks from the defense. You might as well start over and draft a tackle here. build the team from the ground up. Kelvin Banks makes the most sense to me. Just an absolute stud at Texas. I did take him over Simmons here, just because I'm a little low on Simmons, and he only played 6 games this past year, and one of those he left in the middle with an injury and didn't come back. So I think Kelvin Banks is a much safer pick.
And I will say, Banks only allowed a sack this year.
Right.
It's just very powerful. Simmons allowed 0, but
He also only played.
He only played 6 games. So Banks makes sense here from the Steelers' perspective. So Chargers on the clock. Another team that's like, how did they get the 22nd pick? It's obvious.
Defense was really, really, really good.
Yeah, that defense.
And now they've had to kind of also break pieces off and sell them for parts.
Yeah.
I'm gonna help you out here. I think Colston Loveland would be a really fun pick for them. They are in desperate need of a tight end who can play, and Loveland is sneaky good. You don't really hear about him because Tyler Warren is super good.
Did you see his combine?
Absolutely,
Loveland?
I did.
Oh yeah, fantastic work out there in his work out on the field. He had a 90.6 receiving grade.
PFF grades in college don't really matter. Everybody gets a 90.
I understand that.
Everybody gets a 90.
But he had a great one. He's not a run blocker. But good pick there for the Chargers. Now I'll take this pick because you took mine.
Sorry, man.
Green Bay Packers here. This is where the Boston College edge has to go.
You scared of that name?
Yep.
Donovan Izaraku.
Yeah, Izaraku. That's where he has to go. Again, we're in a corner and safety almost. We're almost out of the safety desert. But we're in this corner desert until Amos at ranked 30 on PFF. So Izaraku has to go here.
Okay. And then you get to the Vikings. This is kind of another weird pick for them. Norman Lott is probably going to be the pick here. You could definitely justify Kevin Winston or Trey Amos right here as well. Amos has a lot of upside.
Yes.
And you could even justify Benjamin Morrison or Xavier Watts, either of the Notre Dame guys. I'm really high on Xavier Watts. I think he'd be a great second-round pick for the Bucs if he does make it that far. He probably won't. But I think a really funny pick here would be Cam Skattebo. I don't think it'll happen.
Let's see where Cam Skattebo is ranked.
He's early second round.
He's ranked 51.
He was ridiculously good at Arizona State.
Fantastic.
I think that giving your young quarterback as many weapons as he can have early on in his career will certainly help. And I think that, branding wise, the Vikings would be remiss to pass up on Skattebo here at pick 24. Regardless of how you think about positional value, the defense was one of the best in the league last year. I don't think that you should be all that concerned. Skattebo, 24th overall.
And if you're tuning in live right now, go watch the Rays game. Stop watching this. The Rays are coming back. Go watch it.
Okay, relax.
So you just took Skattebo? Did you really do that?
I did.
He took Skattebo.
Skattebo.
That's crazy. And they still have Aaron
I'm here for
Jones.
the drama, man. I'm here for the drama.
Good for you. Texans. What an interesting team.
Oh, man. It's got to be an offensive lineman, right?
Yeah, it has
please,
to be.
Please.
Because they had 3 fantastic receivers, and somehow receiver is their top need. PFF, what are we doing here? It's got to be offensive line.
Yeah, but their top 3 receivers are all injury prone, and one of them is gonna be turning 34 or whatever.
Well, I mean, Stephon Diggs is gone now, but that's Josh Simmons right here.
It would. I mean, he's the best lineman available. I'm intrigued by Gray Zabel as well from Dakota State.
You know what?
But sure, Simmons.
Yeah. 0 sacks.
What's going to make the Rams competitive this year? They've got two super competitive receivers, two very, very, very good receivers, each of which could go for 2,000 yards in any given season.
Yeah.
Except, is Cooper Kupp really going to be a Ram? No. Um,
Well, now they got Devontae Adams. I thought you were talking about Devontae Adams.
Snuck that one in there, didn't I think that it's probably going to be a defender. It's just kind of a question of which one they want here. It's kind of there's no linebackers really, except for, Demetrius Knight all the way down there at ranked 52, average draft position of 61. So that would be quite a reach.
Yeah.
Golden is stupid fast, but it's not a need that they have.
No.
Loveland's off the board. And so they're probably going to have to reach for Trey Amos here. They're not in need of a safety at all. So it's got to be Amos.
Yeah.
Actually, no. I was just talking about Gray Zabel. They are needing a tackle pretty badly. Yeah. Gray Zabel there at 26. I think that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Did I mess up your system over there?
Messed it up a little bit. That's
you're fine.
I didn't pick anybody yet, so we're fine. I see a reach right here. I'm gonna put a duo out here. So obviously, the Baltimore Ravens have a fantastic safety right now. Kyle Hamilton has blown our minds the last year. Obviously, I was angry when he was picked over Antoine Winfield 2 years ago. But you want to know who stands out to me? You obviously talked about them already. But those Fighting Irish DBs.
Mm-hmm. Both of them.
And Watts played very well this year.
Yes, he did.
And although they already have Hamilton, I think they can take a second one and play some fantastic cover 2 with Xavier Watts.
Well, teams are playing more cover 2 than ever.
Yeah. So Xavier Watts makes sense at this pick for my position.
Interesting, because they're kind of the same player.
Yeah, they are. But Xavier Watts is coming off a fantastic season, which is why I take him over Morrison.
Well, that means the rich are getting richer with the Detroit Lions. Matthew Golden at 28. Whoever would have thunk it? What a position group that's gonna be. You've got Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams and Matthew Golden.
Yeah.
And you've got not Jamal Williams. What's his name?
You just said Jamison Williams.
Yes, the other running back.
The other running back? Oh,
Jameer Gibbs. And who's the other one?
And David Montgomery.
David Montgomery, not Jamal Williams. That was a couple of years ago. And then they've also got Sam Laporta.
And then you add Matthew Golden to this.
And then you add Matthew Golden. That offense is going to be ridiculous. Obviously, they could have gone with an edge rusher here.
Well,
to put across from Aiden Hutchinson, but Hutchinson's going to be healthy at the beginning of next year.
What I'm surprised you didn't look at right here is going to the guards because they just lost Kevin Zeitler, who's 35. Obviously, it would be a reach here, but looking at that, they're one of the best offensive lines in the country right now.
Yeah, unless you're the Bucks, who were literally like a center away from having the best running offensive line in the league. I'm not a huge fan of taking interior offensive linemen in the first round. Mm-hmm. And this interior offensive lineman class is a little iffy.
It's a little stinky.
It's a little iffy.
But you're going to take Matthew Golden.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Washington on the clock. Washington has had a great history of picking defensive linemen. They went with Chase Young a couple years ago.
Is that great? I wouldn't necessarily classify that as great.
With them, he was pretty good.
He got traded away for a reason.
Okay.
And what happened to Montez Sweat? Traded away that guy too.
Okay, I think they take a risk this year though. And James Pierce, in my opinion, right now, he's a risk. He's had off the field problems. But
not even off the field problem, it's on the field.
And he's had on the field problems.
He's got problems on the sideline.
But he plays very good ball. And I think they take a risk.
Earlier this season, I was calling for him to be a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
But
the only other guy, I like Amarion Hampton here too. Put him next to when Austin Eckler finally retires. Put him next to the other B. Robinson.
They've got 8 gazillion running backs on that roster.
They do.
Still.
They have some fantastic running coaches as well to keep Austin Eckler still out there on the field. But we'll be taking James Harris here. I will be, not we.
Okay. I guess I'll roll with that pick. I wasn't really expecting it. That means Trey Amos is a Bill. He actually goes right at his rank, number 30. We've been talking about him just about the whole round.
Yeah.
And finally, another corner is off the board.
I told you, it's a pretty steep.
So what do the Chiefs do?
The Chiefs.
Kind of seems like your team fell apart at the end of the year there.
Yeah, and I don't know what to do here.
So you throw more? Do you throw more gas on the flames on the defense because that defense is really good, or do you invest in some offensive linemen because they were kind of exposed there at the end of the season?
And you know what? I think the interior line needs it more than the exterior offensive line. And with that, Jonathan Ronda looked like he's okay. Okay, his head moved.
He's alive.
Sorry,
we're good guys.
I was about to freak. See, I can't go and pick Tyler Booker because that's not a guard that the Chiefs will be picking. But
you're kind of left with Josh Connerly.
Josh Connerly. You know what?
Donovan Jackson from
I think
Ohio State.
Connerly works here.
It's not a lot of good offensive line.
Not a lot of great
outside
ones.
the top of the class. So Connerly here.
Yeah, I think Connerly works right here.
Okay.
And
Well,
with that,
Super
we've
Bowl
gotten to
champs.
Super Bowl champion, 32nd pick.
They got 2 really good rookie defensive backs last season. They've managed to keep most of the defense together, it seems like.
Yeah.
Do they add a third receiver here?
And they were one of the best teams position group wise everywhere.
So yeah, Jaden Higgins
Where do
potentially.
you pick here? Like,
Do they replenish the defensive line with another edge rusher? Do they draft a corner with Ben Morrison? They are they the best positioned team here in the draft? All of these borderline round 1 guys that we've talked about are now sitting in their lap.
yeah.
I think they add another edge rusher.
I do.
It's kind of a toss-up between Scorton and Stewart in my head, though.
And you know what? I think it's wild that Jack Sawyer is ranked 92 now.
No, I don't. I don't know how much better he's going to get. Scorton's huge.
Yeah.
280? Jesus. Good Lord. Stewart's a little smaller, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, no, he's not.
No, he's
bigger.
not. He's bigger?
He's bigger, 290.
Oh my god.
Interesting. They're about the same size. It's kind of whichever one's your favorite.
And
Stewart's a better run defender.
Landon Jackson blew up on TikTok.
Gordon's a better edge rusher. I'm not a fan of Landon Jackson. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in taking anybody from the University of Arkansas outside of like the 3rd round. Yeah, just kind of pick your favorite Texas A&M lineman. I'm gonna go with Stewart there.
Okay.
And there
Pick
we
the
go.
bigger one.
See what
There's
that
your.
gives us. Oh,
Let's see.
okay. Well, it doesn't give you a grade, but there it is.
It's giving me a grade right now. It's waiting.
Nope.
Oh, no,
Told
it
you.
doesn't. Okay.
Told you.
That's fine. But there's our mock draft. Thank you for tuning in live if you did. Prayers go out today to Jonathan Ronda, who just had a collision with Ben Roordvet.
Yeah, he's gonna be fine, bro.
Yeah, but he's also like the best hitter in the MLB right now. So Noah's, of course, worrying out here right now.
Rolling my eyes.
Okay.
All right.
There you go. Thank you for tuning into the Dynamite Sports Podcast. This is Noah Vassallo at Noah Vassallo on everywhere. Next to me is Tyler Vassallo at Tyler Vassallo everywhere. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Dynamite Sports Podcast.